and I am going to talk about something very near and dear to my heart. And it can pertain to food, but it's more of some scriptures and motivation for people. It's that time of the year where everybody comes together and, we are giving, we're thinking about the homeless because more people are volunteering at like soup kitchens and people are getting ready for those Thanksgiving holiday dinners and things like that. People are gearing up to start donating toys for tots and toys for kids and things like that. It's that season. So we love that kind of stuff. It helps us. Sometimes we're the giver, sometimes we're the person that's receiving, and it's all well and fun. But sometimes we forget about the poor and the less fortunate when it's not Christmas or it's not Thanksgiving or it's not like these holidays. And a lot of times I remember volunteering or helping with these types of programs, and if it was like a year-round program, let's say for like a men's shelter. And the men actually are the ones that get pretty left out even during this times. Like some people will come and help them out and things, but if they're at a men's shelter, they don't, because it's not looked upon, I guess, for you to help a man. People are like, oh, they should be out doing this and that. But sometimes people fall on hard times. So I know for me, a lot of times when I would go and volunteer, and they would say, hey, we have a lot of people doing for women and families or women and children. Is there anybody who could come and make meals for the men who are actually in the shelter and all of that? And those weren't like the glamorous jobs, even though some people do it or whatever. But I wanted to talk about the poor, giving all year round, and how significant it is, because not only does it help someone else, it helps you in the long run. And also, I want to talk about a spiritual aspect of people who give to the poor. So I'm going to read a couple of scriptures because during this holiday season and beyond, I want us to get into helping someone. It doesn't always have to be money, it doesn't always have to be something tangible. It could be a good word, it could be a smile, a hug, just letting someone know that, hey, I see you, and I'm rooting for you. It could be a prayer, it could be anything, and we have to just basically consider one another. So I wanted to talk about three scriptures that I got. Um, the poor are very near and dear to God's heart as well. It's so many scriptures, and I was looking at it, and I'll try to show y'all, see if you can see in my concordance. Let me see. So, poor starts here. So all of that, and all of these scriptures don't just basically talk about giving to the poor or something, but it mentions the poor. It starts here, it goes all the way down to up here, going all the way down to right here, and go all the way down. It's scriptures talking about the poor. So that tells me, and I didn't count how many because good grief, but you could Google how many times the Bible mentions the poor, and it's significant. So that means to me, once something is talked about that much, it has some significance to God, and it's near and dear to His heart. So I want to give y'all a couple of scriptures, and these ain't even like my bomb scriptures. I went ahead and chat GPT these, but there's so many different scriptures about giving to the poor and doing for the poor and the poor and the widow and all just kind of things. So, three scriptures that I'm going to read and kind of explain are Proverbs 19 and 17. That's Proverbs 19:17. Whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will repay him for his deed. That was actually, it still sort of is one of my favorite scriptures pertaining to the poor, because that's a lot of this scripture is what I held on to when I was a single mom and I was trying to do things, trying to right my wrongs, whatever you would call it, and trying to do things. I would listen to the scripture and I would hold on to the scripture. And it's amazing because This scripture actually works if you are generous to the poor. It says, whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will repay him for his deed. I have seen that time and time again. Being generous to the poor helped my needs in the process. And a lot of people will say, well, Regina, that doesn't make any sense. If you give, that means you don't have more to give. And that's actually not true. Just think about the widow when she turned the oil. When she had the oil, she only had that little bit, and boom, she started mixing that oil and selling it, and it was plentiful. Just like the other widow who said, we only have enough cake for ourselves and we're going to eat and die. And that widow started making those cakes, and because she was feeding the prophet and helping him, it multiplied. And I know that to be true, just in my personal life, period. So I just want to encourage you all to do the same. Second, this hair, y'all. Come on. Come on. All right. The second scripture is Proverbs 41 and 1. Blessed is the one who considers the poor. In the day of trouble, the Lord delivers him. So, this is talking about when you're in trouble and you've been helping the poor, because when you're in trouble, you become the poor, you become the needy, you become the one that needs something. So, since you looked out for somebody else in their time of need, God is going to look out for you in your time of need. And I know that to be definitely true. In my time of need, anything, if I've given to the poor, or I've had a heart to lend, or not lend, but to give or to do, God has made sure we okay. Um, and then Proverbs 14:31 says, whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker, but whoever is kind to the needy, they honor God. So I want you to take that in consideration too. There's a scripture that talks about, and I'm paraphrasing it, people who come in with luxurious clothes on and they get to sit in the front, and then you treat the one who's poor, you sit them in the back because you don't want to. Yeah, we have to be generous and kind and helpful to people who are less fortunate. To be honest, they are the ones that we should be gathering together and say, "Come on in here. I'm throwing a feast." That's a scripture where I'm throwing a feast, and I've gathered all the people from the streets and the hedges and the highways and the byways, and those are the people who can't do anything for you. See, we can get a couple of rich folks, and they can pay us and do favors for us, but why not gather the ones who are less fortunate and they can't do anything for you, and you don't want anything from them because they can't give you anything, and you throw them the feast, you throw them the party, because I guarantee if you do that, God will look out for you because he sees and he knows. And according to these scriptures, his heart is for the poor. And he wants to bless and help anybody that will take their time out to bless and help someone else who can't help them in return. So I want to get on here just to basically encourage you all to, if you have some meals this year, or you have some free time where you can go to the food bank or the pantry or something like that, you can volunteer and help. There's a coat drive here in my neighborhood where they are asking for coats for kids, men and women, all kind of stuff. Give and serve, guys. All right, it's the real Gina B. Date with a plate. Only eat it if it's good.